you love the Mazda Miata? Maybe you've had one. Maybe you've always wanted one. But what's the one thing everyone always says about the Miata? It doesn't have enough power. Well, sure, you could V8 swap it, do all kinds of crazy stuff. But the other part of the problem is the Miata's really looked at as a kid's car to some degree, right? You want to completely shirk that idea? How about this? The TVR S2. And you know what the best thing about the TVR S2 is? Aside from the fact that I can fit in it, it's the engine.
It might come as a shock to some of you, but in the late 80s, TVR was struggling. And to combat the problem, they released the S series, a new direction when it came to design for the company. The S1 was released in 1986 and it was popular, but it was considered underpowered and underdeveloped. This, the S2, completely changed the game for TVR at the time. All S-Series cars share this classic styling, but it was the way that the S2 sounded and drove that provided the brand with the cash that they needed to grow. Just think of any TVR that you might know off the top of your head: the Chimera, the Griffith, the Cerbera, even the Tuscan and the Sagaris can trace their styling back to this car in many ways. Don't believe me? Take a look at this. The slits in the hood. They're subtle, but they passed this design DNA down to the Chimera and then the Cerbera, and then to the Tuscan, and finally onto the overtly unsubtle Sagaris. But this car is far more than a pretty face. The noise you heard there at the beginning of this video is that of a 2.9 liter Ford-derived V6 that makes around 170 horsepower. That might not sound like much, but keep in mind that this car only weighs some 2,100 pounds. That's nearly as much horsepower as a brand new Miata, and it weighs less. Inside the S2, things get even better. For those of you that like the novelty of right-hand drive, it's here for you. But it's the way it's done that's just outstanding. When was the last time that you saw a right-hand drive car here in the United States that was this luxurious?
Unlike in a Miata, everything in here just feels special. It's all leather bound and just feels plush and expensive. Even little features, like the way that the warning lights are laid out, is beautiful. One interesting feature is you don't really have a dead pedal in this car. Instead, you have sort of a dead rock climbing hold sort of thing. Just take a look at these seats. Look how comfortable and how plush they really are.
One thing that'll probably shock most people is how much storage is in the S2. There really is quite a lot. There's this big shelf here in the back for you to place stuff. And like, take a look at this footwell. It's so big, I couldn't touch the end of it. So there's tons of extra space for things. But let's get this thing on the road and see what it's really like.
All right, driving the TVR S2. This is a car I've wanted to drive for a very long time, and now that I'm in it, I can't see out of it properly. you'd driven this back to back with that PGO that I drove, you'd think the suspension was made at the same time. At my height, simply because the windshield is directly in my line of sight. It is jittery, just the same way you might think an old British sports car would be. Though there's a whole lot of cars in this city, you'd be hard pressed to find one that you'd feel cooler driving. This thing being right-hand drive on a sunny day with this noise, come on, what do you want? Imagine driving this when it was brand new. You know, it's a shame TVR is gone. It's a shame they're struggling the way that they have. The company's had to change hands so many times. So many people have a love affair with these things. You want to drive a car with theater, this is it. The whole not being able to see thing though really is, it's annoying. I'll be real. Cars go, it's not particularly fast, but that's not why you buy one of these. You buy one of these because you appreciate everything about it. This car was all about sex appeal, and in that respect it hasn't aged a day.
Job ever.
Isn't this pretty cool?
Stinking cool.
Keep in mind, this isn't even the fast one. What you're hearing is a V6, and you could have had this with a V8. Good. You know what, that's the kicker about a car like this. You think, oh, it's going to be tough, it's going to be hard to maintain, it's going to break all the time. This thing is running perfectly. There's not a single issue happening anywhere. It's the perfect temp. It's the perfect temp. Battery looks happy. Oil pressure's good. It's lovely. Really lovely. I really really might have to have a Cerberus. I mean, it's definitely going to be a work expense, everybody.
So that's the TVR S2. I can't describe how much better than a Mazda Miata it really is. And I love Miatas. Old ones, new ones, doesn't matter to me. They're all excellent cars. But none of them hold a candle to the TVR S2. It's everything that a Miata is, and then about 10 times more. It's more beautiful. It's lighter. It's just as powerful as a brand new one. And it sounds so good that you could set it up next to a modern supercar and win in a rev battle. It really is incredible. And I think if you're in the market for a convertible sports car like that, and you've got about 10 grand to play with, you'd be hard pressed to find something as cool or as engaging as the TVR S2. The full review can be found at hotcars.com. I'll have a link in the video description below. I want to thank Lane Motor Museum. I could not have done it without their help. And if you're in the Nashville area, there's nowhere I would suggest visiting more than this place. They've got more than 550 cars, and all of them are sincerely interesting. In addition, I want to thank the duo at GingerlyCaptured. They did all the video and photography for these reviews that I got to do, and they did an incredible job. If you're in the Southeast, please check them out on Instagram. In addition, if you want to support my work, you can do so at riverscars.com. I've got a little shop there with all kinds of cool stuff. You can get decals for your car, shirts, mugs, all sorts of stuff. I would really appreciate that. Finally, check out my other video reviews here on YouTube. I recently finished a review of the super rare Alfa Romeo SZ and the even rarer PGO Chimera. Have a smashing day, and thanks so much for watching.
Here we have the mighty giraffe with his head sticking above